Hey, what's up? I'm Mark Bellini, and in this video, I'll be going over the design proposal for my tiny house. So we'll take a look here. So here is just the cover page for Small House Solutions here, and we're just talking about, there's a number of challenges and restrictions and zoning requirements and whatnot, but everything pretty much checks out, and they feel like they feel confident that they're able to build what I'm looking to have. And we'll go on to the next page here. And so briefly here, the purpose is to provide a timeline, architectural engineering, permitting processes, and build out this tiny house for me with all the requirements beforehand. So they have to do soil samples and analysis and all kinds of stuff. So some of the details here is the property is on SF3 zoning, which means it allows for additional structures to be built on the property. So I can have the primary residence and a tiny house, and it is allowed as an SF3 zoning. But it still needs to remain residential. I'm going for about 400 square feet on the tiny house, anywhere between 400 and 500, like 450 would be kind of ideal, I think. Impervious cover. So impervious cover is you have like your land, your plot, and impervious cover means water cannot penetrate. So your house, the entire house is impervious cover. Your driveway is impervious cover. If you have solid concrete walkways, those are impervious cover. If you have a shed in the backyard with like a foundation, that's impervious cover. So anything where water cannot penetrate through it, that is impervious cover. If it's like gravel or like stepping stones and things like that, that's fine, that doesn't count. But it needs to fall within a certain percentage of the property. And I believe I need to stay around 45% impervious cover is kind of my cap. So I'm already over that, which I'll get to in a minute here. So this is basically saying impervious cover needs to be created because I have too much concrete covering my lot. So I have a large walkway that goes out to a larger fire pit, and I need to remove that entire walkway, the whole fire pit area, all of it needs to go. And then also to create even an additional space if I want, I can, instead of a full concrete driveway, I can cut sections out and just put ribbons. So it'd be just like for the tires going up to free up more space if I need to. So that I'm thinking that over. I may do that kind of depending on how the square footage kind of plays out here. But if I do everything, it's gonna be between 300 and 500 square feet is what they're gonna allow. So it kind of goes over here, some of the timelines. So architectural design, renderings, geotech engineering, contracting. We're gonna like in 8 to 10 weeks here, so a couple months. Structural engineering, a couple weeks. Permit application to approval, about 8 weeks to 2 months. Total timeline design to move-in ready. So we're looking about a year basically to get this project completely finished. From here, it just kind of talks about their approach, their vision, budget, property factors, regulatory compliance. So basically they want to build this little tiny house to your vision here. Whatever you want to build, they're flexible and they listen to what you have in mind, while also keeping feasibility in mind. Also budget. So they give you kind of a price range, and depending on the finishings that you choose, like obviously if you pick really nice finishings, it's gonna be more expensive. And if you choose less, it's gonna be less expensive, obviously. So that is that. Also property factors. So like I said before, there's gonna be soil samples, topography, which way the sun sets, storage, utilities, parking, aesthetic, all these things they have to take into consideration during the design process. There's also regulatory compliance. So there's going to be like on-site visits, documentation, research, meetings, consulting, engineering professionals, and local development offices to produce a design that's beautiful but also legal. Because yes, I could hire somebody to go build a tiny house in the backyard and not do it with the city's approval and probably get away with it to a degree. But if I ever wanted to turn around and sell the property, or I wanted to get a certificate of occupancy, that would be an issue because it's not a legal structure that I built in the backyard. So I'm trying to do well, I will be doing everything by the book. So that way it improves the value of the property and is an actual legitimate residence. So I could make that, like, I could rent it and it could be completely compliant with the city and everything be good to go all the way up to code. So that's the reason I'm doing it this way, by the book. So no issues into the future. Also, so there's some project notes here. So like I said, SF3 is good. That's where I want to be. Impervious cover is estimated currently at 52.52%. All developments must be under 45% for final permit approval. So I'm already, 7.52% over what I should be for approval. So, I gotta remove a lot of concrete to make this project work. So I may have to cut, out part of the driveway to make this ultimately work, to at least get approval. So that's kind of a pain, but necessary. There's also a shed in the backyard. I'm gonna have to have that removed. The fire pad pit, the walkway, and convert the driveway to ribbon strips. So 300 to 500 square feet or so for the tiny house. Okay, and also in the backyard, there's a couple trees that are pretty large size, and they're just about to that size where they're protected, where I can't take them out anymore. But they're not really in the way, so they can be worked around. So that should not be an issue. And also, the meter box is shared, so that's gonna have to be an upgrade. Now I kind of lucked out there because I figured there was something else. There was a tap upgrade and a meter box. If I had to redo the tap or something like that, I think it was like $20,000 to do that, because I had to like redo the piping in the street, and that would have been a major blow to the project. But thankfully I didn't have to do that, and I just have to do upgrade the meter box, and that's, I think, like a $5,000 charge there. So not near as bad. So thankfully I lucked out there. Okay, so we have the milestones here. We'll meet over Zoom, kind of go over the basics. We'll go over, what I want as far as water heater, if it's going to be like a flash water heater or gas. I'm kind of thinking just electric. HVAC system, I'll probably do a mini split system. Type of roof, insulation type. I think I'm going to do 100% electric versus gas, because that's just one more thing to pipe out there. No balconies, or not really patios, not a garage, no demolition. Got to prepare the lots for the foundation and stuff. Ceiling heights, I'm going to want to have like the main structure, but also have it be high enough so I can put in a loft, like maybe 2 lofts at the top, for a couple beds. So I will be looking into that. Let's see. Also, I'm going to go over some preliminary floor plan drafts. So we'll be doing things out just to get things on paper and to get things moving. Let's see, drafting. Oh yeah, we're going to get into materials as well. So, if I, whatever materials I want, I can get very specific. And so when I hand this to a contractor, everything's there. It's not just the blueprint of how to build it, but also like the material list. And I'm going to try and keep this cost like nice. I have a nice, place, but keep the costs, minimal. So I'm going to use like, subway tiles. I might use butcher block countertops. Try and keep my costs down, and I can always like improve things if I really want to later on. Maybe after some wear and tear, I can replace them and make them a little bit nicer. So there's that. And also for the kitchen, it's talking about cabinets here, plumbing plans, wall and roof sections. Let's see, roof lines. I'm also going to keep the kitchen pretty simple. I'm not going to use cabinets at the top and bottom, like under the countertops. I'm going to use them on the bottom, so the countertops have something to rest on. But for the top, I think I'm just going to put shelving. That's going to make it cheaper, and guests can see what they're grabbing, so they can grab a glass or grab a plate, and they don't have to open a bunch of cupboards to find where things are at. They can see everything visually up top, and then we'll store some pots and pans and things down below. It just makes it a little bit easier and cheaper for me. Okay, so we'll go to the next page here. And here's their pricing. And this is actually going to be substantially more expensive. And the reason is is, this is their price if they do everything from end to end. If they are designing and completely building this thing out with a warranty and everything, this initial phase is $7,500. But I'm planning on going with my own contractor. And so it's probably going to add on quite a few grand, maybe like $4,000 is what I'm kind of expecting. I don't know yet. But the reason I'm doing that is because, I asked them, if you build it for me, can I be involved in the project at all? And they said no, because of, I think, liability issues and warranty issues. And so they wouldn't allow me to kind of help along with that. And they wouldn't, lower the cost with me helping either. So I found my own contractor, and he is able to build it. He is happy to teach me and show me along the way so I can learn. And, as much, whatever work I do myself, that's just going to be less work for him. And so less expense for me to pay him to do these things. So I'm going to try and learn as much as I can and do as much as I can on the project to keep my expenses lower. And the reason I do that is because money's a little bit tight right now, and it's a little bit of a risk. And so by me working on the project, it's going to kind of lower that risk for me a little bit. And I'm not going to want to do this on every project in the future. I don't want to become a contractor and just do everything myself, but I need to have the knowledge and the capability to do these things so I can learn about budgeting, what things cost, and how long it can take to do certain projects, just get a better idea of the industry and how it works. And so if I need to get in there and get my hands dirty, I can do it. But later in the future, I'm probably going to want to hire it out, but I think it's good for right now. It's really good in my situation as far as finances and learning. So that is that. They require a 50% down payment or 50% deposit, and then 50%, the other 50% due upon completion of revisions of floor plan, electrical, layout, exterior evaluations, and everything else. And then the rest is just terms and conditions. So that is an update on the tiny house. I'm still kind of going back and forth as far as the final cost for this, for just the the plans and everything that I can hand off to my own contractor. And so things are finally in process. It's been hung up with the city for so long, maybe a month or two, actually more like 2 months, maybe even 3. And it's really slowed the project down. And so we're finally starting to move forward, and going to be cutting them a check here pretty soon to actually start planning and getting this ready to go. So if you like this content, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.